Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Live Free Now show, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use for a free and prosperous life. Today, we have a wonderful program lined up. We're going to be joined here in just 1 second. They're already here by Ashleigh and Taelor of the Cosmos Ranch Foundation here in Central Texas. And we're going to be chatting all things freedom, private realm, churchy spirituality, getting people together and building solid community. That's what it's all about. And want to give you guys some good information and also some inspiration for folks that are wanting to do projects in their area. Before we get to that, I want to remind you guys, tomorrow I'm going to be joined by Aaron Day of the Daylight Freedom Foundation. And he is going to be sharing with us about Zano. Zano is a cryptocurrency that is very similar to Monroe, although it allows people to create tokens. And there's all sorts of great projects that are being built on the Zano blockchain. But you got to be an accelerator member to join. So I want to invite you to go over to Live Free Membership, livefreemembership.com, where you can sign up for the membership. You can cancel at any time. It's $97 a month. We do a monthly masterclass on all things counter economics. That's cryptocurrency, entrepreneurship, marketing, alternative investments. And on top of that, we also do a masterclass on land and community. So regenerative agriculture, homesteading, intentional community, you name it. There's all sorts of other great things. We got a few hundred members that are all ready to connect with you, hold each other accountable. So that's going on tomorrow. And when I say tomorrow, I mean June 26th at 11 a.m. You still have a chance to join and hop on board. Once you join the membership, you also get instant access to my masterclass on setting up a Cake wallet, which is my favorite wallet for using cryptocurrency privately. Again, this is going down June 26th, a live masterclass with the one, the only Aaron Day, somebody I believe to be the #1 expert on combating central bank digital currencies. Head over to livefreemembership.com in order to sign up today. If you're already a member, you guys should have already gotten the registration link. So I hope that you will be joining us for that. Also, right after the show, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the show notes. I got to pull that up though, but I'll drop it here in a second. Right after the show, I'm immediately going into our 13th International Freedom Cells activation call. Derek Bros and I will be hosting that. And we'll be teaching you about sociocracy. Derek's going to do a little presentation on sociocracy as a organizing structure for decision-making with your local freedom crew. I'm going to be teaching how you can apply the Trinity Model. It's a non-statutory trust, private membership association, and a 508c1a faith-based organization. We'll be talking about this a little bit today during this interview, but how you can leverage that framework in order to kind of bridge between the old way of doing things with a bank account and contracts, right? And the new way of doing things, which is free people working together completely outside the system. It's a great framework to leverage for your freedom cell. We're going to have open Q&A and hear from the audience on the cool stuff going on there as well. So lots going on, and thankfully I'm staying heavily caffeinated. All right. But without further ado, let's introduce our guests here in studio, doing more in studio stuff, which is always fun. The one, the only Taelor Monroe and Ashleigh Hakes. How are y'all?
Fabulous. Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
So before we get into Cosmos Ranch Foundation, and shout out to the folks in the comment, I'd love to hear where you guys are tuning in from. Let us know. We got Liberty Rising from North Carolina. It's so beautiful up there in North Carolina. Hope everything's going okay after all that crazy inland hurricane stuff. But let's go ahead and hear from our guests. Taelor, I've known you for a while through the Awesome Permaculture Guild. So for folks not familiar with you, maybe you could just share a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I've been teaching permaculture design and doing food forest and food garden installs for, 14 years now. And I've recently purchased 40 acres and have started the Cosmos Ranch Foundation, which is kind of my new chapter over here. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I'm for all things sustainability, community, sovereignty, figuring out, like you just said, just real people doing real things, and education in the form of getting your hands in there and actually doing the thing, and not just kind of talking about it, just actually doing it. So
excellent. When were you first introduced to permaculture?
in 2011.
2011.
Yep, that was the year I graduated college, and I just kind of fell right into it. So my close friends, that we got this beautiful rental property, 22 acres together. We started a community called Sacred Roots, which was a permaculture intentional community. And so as soon as I learned about it, I went head first and just did all the things immediately. Started running Austin Permaculture Guild in 2013. Started organizing PDCs in 2012, permaculture design courses, and just been kind of going, head first ever since with all that. So
it's not your first rodeo.
No, I've lived in 5 different permaculture communities at this point. Wow. So it feels really good to have that behind me, starting my own. And this is the first time I've owned land. So, I always like to be an inspiration for people like that, where I've gone this far not owning land yet. And so I love to let people know you don't have to make that step before you can actually do permaculture, grow food, or catch water, or whatever it is you want to do.
A lot of people focus so much on I want to be there with everything together and the land and the community, but it takes time. It also takes a lot of perseverance. And I'm sure you've had quite a few, setbacks and lessons along the way. So everybody, you got to start somewhere. But the important thing is just to start.
Yeah, just to start, just to go somewhere. Mistakes are tools for learning, That's right. And so we can have that humility and just know that everything is a lesson. And even if you build a garden, it doesn't work, well, you know how not to do it now.
So. It most likely won't work the first couple go arounds,
right,
at least. But the tomatoes always seem to work.
Unless you take my class first.
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right, we got Vanessa coming in from Brooklyn. Yeah. Shepherd and Bellas from Mexico had to leave the shithole Nazi U.S., Shepherd says. All right, Shepherd. Tell us how you really feel about the U.S. And then we got Aunt B. Pole from Pasadena, Texas. I tell you what. Yeehaw. All right. We're also joined by Ashleigh Hakes. And if you want to introduce yourself, what's going on in your world?
Yeah, my name is Ashleigh Hakes. I am the operations director of Cosmos Ranch, and I have been in the event industry world. I've been learning about sustainability and regeneration since I was in middle school, probably, but I have really focused on the event world and really creating immersive experiences for people and community to come together and really grow and really step into the truth of who they are and do the things that they really love to do with each other as support. So that's been a lot of my background.
In-person events are critical. And I think there's going to be a big, the pendulum always swings from one extreme to another. And after COVID, everybody was on the computer and at home. Well, I wasn't home. I'm sure you guys probably weren't. Y'all are probably doing ecstatic dance and stuff, mixing it up with all the germs, which are good for you. It'll swing to everyone's digital. And now we're all on Zoom. And then people are like, this doesn't feel authentic. And it's cool to connect with people, but it's not real connection. Now it's swinging back to in-person events. So those skills that you have, you'll be well positioned as this goes even further. I understand you're doing a masterclass or some coaching course now on finding your purpose. What's that all about?
Yeah. So today is day 2 of this live 3-day experience called Living Your Purpose.
Cool.
And it is a ceremonial journey where it's not just your normal masterclass where people are telling you some blanket statement but not really giving you the actual how-tos. It's we're taking you through a guided journey. And today it's all about purposefully rooted. So yesterday I guided people to be up here in the formless where all of our thoughts are living at, and then take those thoughts and anchor them down through our chakra system and embody that into divine purpose. So today, my friend Tori is going to guide us through rooting that into place. And once we root our purpose into place, from there, we start to build and we start to take action on the things that we really want to do in our lives. And that's what I love teaching people about. And that's a lot of what we're doing at Cosmos Ranch too, is giving people a place to learn the skills that they need in order to do the things that they love to do.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Yeah, I talk a lot about purpose as well, and really dialed it in from Napoleon Napoleon Hill, he talks about having a definite purpose, like a clearly defined purpose. But then on the spiritual side, I like to use the phrase divine purpose as well, because like we're all embodied or imbued with gifts from God. And when we can identify, why do we have these gifts, whether it's communication or bringing people together or conflict resolution, or someone's really good with growing food, it's like, what is there? There's always a higher reason for this. It's not just so I can live a good life myself, but if we align with God's plan and creating a better world that's in alignment with the divine, it really helps us to fuel our fire. What else helps? Really being clear on your purpose whenever adversity and struggle comes up. It helps you to really stay centered. So you're not just like,
yes,
cool.
Definitely. Yeah. Even in my permaculture classes, people say, well, what advice do you have for people? I always say, follow your inspiration, because if you're following what lights you up, then things are going to flow and fall into place for you. If you're trying to force it and go into a different direction that's not your divine purpose, then that's when you run into those roadblocks. And so, like you said, if you're following that spark, then even when you come up with the hardships, you feel rooted and grounded in what is right and what you're really excited to bring to the world. And it'll be easy for you to find the right path again.
Yeah. Steve Jobs had a speech where he said the same thing about like entrepreneurship. If you don't love what you're doing, when the challenges and setbacks come up, you're just going to crash. Yep. But if you're like, no, I feel so passionate, I'm helping people, it lights me up inside, you're going to be like, okay, well, what can I learn from this and how can I plow forward? How would you say, okay, we're going to get into the Cosmos Ranch Foundation, but how would you say permaculture principles have been applied in your general life? Not a lot of people think permaculture, it's about designing landscapes and growing food, but really it's a much more holistic system. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a very holistic system. I mean, really just living by the principles. So there's a lot of permaculture design principles that we use. We already talked about one, mistakes are tools for learning. Some other ones, the problem is the solution is a great one. I love that. Where it kind of just changes your whole, it's like a paradigm shift where before you see a problem and you see it as a problem, like, okay, this is horrible. What am I going to do? But instead you do this little tweak where you go, okay, this is the problem, but there's a lesson here. What is it that I need to learn from this problem, and how does the root of this problem become the solution? And so a really great example of that, I mean, you could look at that in kind of a more philosophical way, but in like a permaculture mindset, for example, flooding. We have a lot of issues with flooding in Central Texas. We get these huge torrential downpours where sometimes we get, 2 to 8 inches in a few hours. And so we get a lot of water. And it floods people's houses, it floods, people's cars sometimes, but we're also in an arid environment. And so we need that water. It's a huge resource. Water is life, right? And so in permaculture design, we see that water as a benefit, right? And we say, okay, yeah, we're flooding right now, but if we implement these systems with berms and swales and these other things, we can reroute that water so that it doesn't flood our structures, but at the exact same time, use that water to water our fruit trees and our food and medicine that we're growing right alongside our house. So, yeah. Yeah. A lot of folks in my audience, we are very, I'm sure y'all's crew too. And it's cool how there's a lot of overlap between all these communities, right? We're very skeptical of the government, and something that just came up for me is just the same, like, you're like, yeah, of course we hate the government. You guys probably don't have a lot of hate in your lives. I don't either, but
no hate.
No, just love.
Yeah.
It's like just the same. There's a storm and there's a flood, and right now we're experiencing like a storm and flood of tyranny and technocracy and all these crazy control programs. And so we could be like, oh my God, it's flooding with tyranny. Or we could say, wow, how can we divert our energy away from that into something constructive? And just like with COVID, they pressed and they rolled out all this, surveillance technology and the lockdowns, but it really woke a whole lot of people up. Yep. And when you can go through life already with the mindset that when challenges arise, I'm not going to let them break me. I'm going to let them build me. And I'm going to learn from that. And I'm going to have like a whole arsenal of lessons that I can deploy for future challenges and struggles. It really makes a world of difference. That's what we try to do with Live Free Academy. We're teaching tactics and strategies and how to set up a wallet and how to buy land. But at the essence of it, is recognizing that everybody has limiting beliefs, and the quicker that we could overcome those and just become somebody that's anti-fragile, the more successful we can be in our goals. But also it's like, life can actually be kind of challenging. And there's lots of ups and downs, especially when you're doing community or any relationship for that matter. Like we all grew up with trauma, and then you go back a couple generations. It wasn't very many generations ago where all of the men went off to fight and or die in this horrible atrocity that was World War II. Before that, World War I. And then they came home like broken, not even able to express their emotions. They had children that were raised in that household. Those children were our parents for our generation. And it's like a lot of people didn't really learn how to love, learn how to express emotions and all that stuff. So it's only inevitable that we're going to mirror each other and things are going to come up. So whether it's permaculture or doing a project or living in community, it can all be seen as a spiritual practice,
Absolutely. And I mean, that ancestral trauma, I mean, we were just talking about this the other day with World War II and all that ancestral, it's like, I love that you have this holistic mindset around everything. It's not just about planting the fruit tree or like doing the thing. It's like there's this inner work that we all need to do as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, with the Cosmos Ranch Foundation, that's really what we're all about is, providing these experiences where you can come and plant the fruit trees and learn how to build the gardens, but you can also come and do breath work and do meditation and yoga and ground out and really connect with yourself. And I feel like that's something that in our current culture is really hard for people to do. It's like even taking a break, not being productive for an hour is like scary, And so, that's building a place where people have the space to be with themselves and really see themselves for who they really are. I feel like and some other programs that we have are geared towards specifically that of healing those traumas that we're all carrying.
I love it. Well, let's get more into it. So cosmosranch.love is the website. Cosmosranch.love. It's a physical space, right? 41 acres.
Yeah.
There's a home, there's homes, there's some RVs, there's gardens and fruit, food forests. But, what is it that you guys are doing there? Let's get more into that.
Yeah. So the big vision right now that we just opened up our first weekly class yesterday is the venue space. And so we have food forest, we have, 33,000 gallons of rainwater catchment.
Cool.
We have our community where we're regularly living and working and doing community meals together and all of those lovely things. But our big goal right now is creating physical space for connection. So for education, so some of these pictures you're seeing now are from a cob workshop that we did, biodynamic workshop. We also do ceremonial dance parties and yoga, and it's a space for retreats. So even at our yoga class yesterday, the instructor, she was like, I feel like I'm at a mini retreat just being in this class.
Love it.
And so we love that. And so, just creating these beautiful sacred spaces for people to connect with each other, to connect with themselves. And to see a different way that we can live, a different way of experiencing life that's a little more slow, a lot more intentional, and just bring in the magic.
Yeah.
Cool. And so I understand you founded it. Taelor and Ashleigh is the director of operations. It's a nice 1-2 punch.
Yep. And my fiance, Stu, he's our co-founder. And
Cool.
So we own the land together.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, a trust stewards the land.
Yeah,
and y'all are trustees.
That's true. That is true.
And we'll get into the
is
private
true.
model that you guys are using and some of the nuance there. But Ashleigh, do you want to share what some of the events are? Because I understand you guys, for folks that are local, first of all, if you're not local and you're like, I feel alone and isolated, you should move to Central Texas. It really is a great space. I would encourage you not to live in Austin, although if you want that high energy corporate feel, still a lot of great people. And obviously a lot of folks. You live in Austin, probably.
I live in Austin. Yeah.
I was born and raised in Austin. My family's still there. But there's just something a little more special, in my opinion, not to throw shade at Austin, about being out in the country. Because it still has the vibe of Austin. It kind of like layers out a little bit. But it's also got this country. We're looking out for each other. It's not as corporate and weird.
not as hustle
Not as hustle,
bustling,
too. Yeah.
Right.
We're right on the border of Austin.
Yeah,
so
it's a great location.
Great location. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds where we're at. And what we're doing with our events is we're working with the seasons, and we're thinking about the permaculture design and how we utilize all the systems, and they're integrated. So everything that we're doing is integrated for you to remember who you are in different ways, whether that's through moving the physical body with their all levels vinyasa flow, or that's connecting to the breath so that you can awaken your consciousness, or that's through connecting with your sisters and your brothers. So we have a monthly Cosmic Sister Circle, a monthly Rooted Brotherhood Circle. Every Tuesday we have stretches and sound, which we had for the first time yesterday. And it was really sweet.
Jenna's the bomb.
Jenna
dude.
is
Jenna
the
Johnson,
bomb.
oh
Like
my
I've
gosh,
been
she's
doing
amazing.
yoga for an extremely long time, and Jenna is one of my favorite teachers. The way that she guides is very intuitive. She connects with the people in the class. She makes sounds with her instruments and plays the most beautiful flute that I've ever heard.
Cool.
I, every Tuesday night, will also be doing what I call a quantum sound immersion. It's a sound bath, a sound healing experience. I call them quantum sound immersions because you just have to come experience it for yourself and you'll understand. It takes you into galactic realms that not most sound baths can take you to. And doing it inside of that geodesic dome that you see in the picture there is really incredible, because the sound, it's like you're surrounded by sound and it engulfs you.
The acoustics and stuff are
The
built.
acoustics, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, and I saw you had a quote from Buckminster Fuller on your website,
Oh, yeah.
John.
It's a great
and so,
quote.
of course, with the domes and the sacred geometric patterns, even when we were building the dome, I started seeing these geometric patterns in my dreams and in daydreams even of. It's really interesting because all of the buildings that we're currently residing in, even like this room, it's a box, right?
Yeah.
And so all the angles
Very unnatural.
are 90 degrees. They're unnatural, just the way the sound bounces off, the way the energy bounces off. And so when you're in this dome, it's like you're transported to this sacred place. And then, of course, we have the earthen floor, which is very unique. So you're grounding while you're inside the building. And then the foundation is made of these they're actually crystals. So
Cool.
they're amber calcite boulders that are native to our property, which is really incredible. So just the whole building itself, just going in the building is quite an experience. It's a really special spot. But all that
just coming into the building itself, like just coming out to the land itself and then going inside of the building is a unique experience without any of these classes.
Even on a tour, like it's
just
it's
coming
really
out
beautiful.
at any time on a tour, like it's a beautiful spot. And when you get to connect with these classes and the community, it's a way to deepen that connection that you have to the land and to yourself and to the community that we're building. So
Love it.
something that we're also doing monthly is a monthly cacao ceremony with Om Gnomes. And Om Gnomes is me and my partner's company that imports cacao from Peru, some of the highest quality nutrient dense cacao. And then for the next 4 months, once a month, we're going to have this Sacred Stewardship Elemental series that Jen is teaching. She's also a permaculturist herself. And so she's going to one Sunday a month go into each of the elements and really allow you to understand the practical ways in which these elements can connect you to the land and to yourself. So it's
and that'll be hands-on on the property. Y'all can demo stuff.
Right. It's exactly what I was going to say. It's an opportunity for you to come learn with your hands how to work with the land itself. So
love it.
These are classes that really kind of touch base on all the aspects, whether that's mind, body, emotions, land-based. So if you come check out our calendar online, you can find something that fits you. And we're constantly adding more things too.
Sweet.
So what's on there is just the base foundation of what's regularly reoccurring, but we also have guest speakers and guest facilitators and retreats.
I'd like to teach a class.
Yeah, you can come teach a class, John.
Cool.
Absolutely. And, that's the really beautiful thing that keeps coming to me while Ashleigh was talking is that we're building community, but at the same time, me and Ashleigh have been working in these realms for over a decade each. So we have, 30 years of building community behind us coming into this project. So even, you know, if you're really wanting to connect with community, this is such a great opportunity to do that, because we already have this community that's coming here. And it's really tricky to talk about, because it's like you don't really know until you experience it, of just the warmth and the openness and the welcoming of all of the humans that are in these spaces. And it's a really beautiful thing to be a part of. So
it's a very mature community, because there's a lot of people that have been a part of this same conscious community for over a decade now. And one thing I noticed too, I know Zen Chillman is one of the teachers.
Yes.
She's a total badass. But
absolutely.
and you know, like I come from the freedom activism world, but I'm also spiritual and a conscious guy too. And so I got one foot in this community, one foot in that community. There's so much overlap, which is beautiful. But I've noticed that now more than ever, it seems like there's a lot of accountability taking place, because oftentimes in some of these spaces, it attracts a certain type of person that may be exploitative, or see people that are seeking something because maybe there's a void, and that makes them vulnerable, and then predators come around, right? That's not like a predominant thing, like it's not safe here, but there is an element of that in any community. But now it's like people are maturing, stepping into their power, and they're like, no, we're gonna call that out with integrity. We're not trying to get into some gossip drama thing, but like, we need people to be held to account and take responsibility and try to make things right, or they need to be ostracized. So it's a very it's cool to see the maturing of a community in process.
Yes. And I love that you brought that up. And of course, you know, Zen in particular, she's been hosting these events where we are holding people accountable for, you know, being out of integrity and doing things. And we're saying, hey, this is not okay to act this way in our community. And so that's a big part of our mission too, is having, first of all, very high quality facilitators in every single aspect of the things that we're offering, all the classes, the workshops, the events, and, you know, curated even for when people are renting the venue space. Not just anybody can come and rent this space. You know, we're curating that. And then it's really nice for me, you know, owning the land through my trust, of course, but being able to have that authority of saying, hey, it's not okay for you to participate in the way that you're participating. You need to go. If you want to talk about it later, great. But this is not okay. And it feels really good to have the authority to say that. And it's really beautiful to see other parts of our community in these different spaces, like the ecstatic dance community, you know, stepping up and saying, hey, I have discernment, I have integrity. I see, you know, where these wounds are for you, and I'm sorry you're experiencing that, but you can't be doing that here. You know,
you got to go. Cool. Good stuff. So let's talk about the model, right? So you guys are using a Trinity model in that the land is, we like to say, stewarding the resource of the land. And the language thing is like, it's hard to break. A lot of people obsess over the language thing, and they're like, nah, but it's like,
we do our best.
What matters most is how we're showing up in the world, and more so than how we describe it. But it's a trust that's holding the land, stewarding the land. And then you guys have a private membership association. And then it's so obviously spiritual work, a church, right? When we do this with Bradley Logan, and we call it the Trinity Model, which, by the way, folks are interested in this, we have a free webinar, livefree.academy/Trinity, that'll take you through what this model is all about, how it's an exit from the public realm, the matrix, the licenses, all that stuff, asking permission, man-made law into divine law, God's law, natural law. And it's a more aligned way to relate to one another and to relate to the land. Which is really important, right? Rebecca always says the land's the first partner. She got that from one of her mentors, Erica. It's like in a community, the land's the number one partner. We can't act like we're just walking all over using the land. We got to be in harmony with the land. So livefree.academy/Trinity, livefree.academy/Trinity is the website there. But let's talk about it, because I came to y'all's launch party, which was cool. And there was a fire and there's some dance. I wish we would have came earlier. But we had a good time and chalked it up with some awesome people. And whenever we walked in, we had to sign a private membership agreement.
Mhm.
And I was there watching some folks, like some people were like, what the hell is this? And they didn't pay
Right.
attention. There's like signing it.
Yes.
It could be cool to have someone that's at the registration booth that like lets folks know what it is. It's kind of an educational thing, but also to let folks know you're entering a private portal. This is different than we're having a party at downtown on 6th Street or whatever. Like this is a very intentional sacred space, and you're now a member, which comes with responsibilities.
Absolutely.
But can y'all share about the Private Membership Association and maybe what went into the agreement? Because I've noticed it was very intentional and divine, literally and figuratively.
Thank you. Yeah. And we did talk about that after the event of like having somebody even reading it to people.
Sure.
And I feel like most people are used to signing a waiver, and it's kind of like, don't sue us, we're gonna take your picture or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like all this like huge mumbo
The state
jumbo
of Texas.
legal jargon, and they assume that's what they're looking at. And they're like, I don't have to read this, but that's not what it is at all, right? It's pretty much what you just said, right? It's laying out the sacredness of the land, the sacredness of the space, how we are, living in our divine purpose here, and we are showing respect and integrity to all of the people around us, to the land itself. And it also has a good paragraph in there about how you are now agreeing to become a private person when you enter this space, and that this is a private space, not a public space. And so just letting people know about that. And I love it because it kind of like sets the stage for their awareness and their attention, their intention, and how they interact with the space. It's very different. It's almost like a little mini frequency shift of like, okay, this is how we participate when we're here, and an inspiration perhaps to continue to participate that way in other spaces. But, instead of entering being concerned about you're going to die and I can't sue you if I die or some weird crap that it normally says, it's like an invitation to expand and to have respect and to honor yourself and honor those around you,
Yeah, it's a really beautiful representation of what it means to be a sovereign being. Being sovereign is choosing yourself and taking the responsibility with accountability, as community is holding each other accountable to show up and do what you say you're going to do because you want to do it, because you are there to grow and thrive into the person that you are divinely here to become. So it's an opportunity for everyone to make that choice, to choose what they're doing day to day, and to know that they are going to be responsible in doing that, because everyone around them is responsible in doing it with them. So
which helps.
It helps.
It makes
lot.
it easier.
Yeah,
We're all doing it together.
I love the idea, like you said, of having someone there. We literally talked about that. We had a couple people at the gate, but it wasn't, I don't think, like you were saying, sometimes it was a long event too. So sometimes they didn't exactly know how to communicate to the other person.
I'll volunteer.
Great. Yeah, let's have you at the gate.
That would be wonderful.
I'll hold it down.
Awesome.
You're one of the best persons that could
what the
explain
spiel's about.
Totally.
I was just thinking as y'all were sharing that, like, I don't know. I'm just really grateful that this movement of people is here and doing stuff. And just when you use the word sovereignty, it's because I've been in this freedom space for a long time, over 2 decades. And a lot of the sovereignty stuff that I was familiar with back in the day was like older curmudgeon men driving a beat up pickup truck with not for commercial use plates. And they're like all pissed off at the world.
Yeah.
And they're ready to pick a fight with the cop, and they want to spend all their time in the courts. And this is how we create freedom. But now blending sovereignty with true sovereignty, which at its essence is spiritual in nature, is really what it's all about. And then here we have 2 divinely feminine women that are like so creative and powerful, that are the ones bringing this message. It just really feels like, wow, there's something special here that I believe has the potential to really work.
Thank you.
catch on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you.
And I love that perspective shift too, where it's like instead of coming up head to head and being against something and being mad about, and you're doing it because you're in opposition to someone. It's about, kind of like the exit and build phrase where no, we're actually not even paying attention to that system much, and we're leaving it and we're doing our own thing, and it's about thriving in our existence because we want to, not because we're in opposition to anyone. Right. It's just because that's what we're doing.
Also, or in the opposition too, something that I've talked about for many years is owning your power. And a lot of times when we're in opposition, it's someone trying to have power over something else. The government tries to have power over us, right? But when we step into our sovereign being, when we step into the truth of who we are, we're doing things from a place of power within. So that power comes from within ourselves, so we can share that with other people rather than trying to overpower. We're having power within each other as a collective to show up in co-creation with each other.
Love it. Starbeam. Is this the guy that helped y'all with the agreements? Starbeam? Oh, sorry. It really is beautiful and well-worded agreement. Good. So Starbeam read it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's right there on our website.
Yeah, there's something powerful about reading it too, because you read it, and when you really, a lot of people just skim through that. But if they knew, like, no, this is something special. This is, it's new, but it's also a return to the old way of doing things. Then you read it, and you're like, wow, there's this. I get this. I am this. I am. That's a God phrase.
Yes, I am.
Super potent, super good, and something with all the election and stuff. It's just so ridiculous how many people fall for the trap over and over and over. I shared that GIF of Charlie Brown getting duped by the girl with the football. Forget her name, but she's like holding the football and she keeps pulling it away. And it's like, I'll really do it this time, Charlie. And he keeps doing it. It's like, it's the same thing over and over. But this guy, Alex Zek, with the Way Forward, who's very like embodied, rooted man, such a powerful force, this guy, he kind of blends the law sovereignty world, but still speaks in this term, like it's not about the documents or filing or anything. It's about embodying remembering who you really are. And then he also bridges this really radical look at health, energetic medicine and all that stuff. And like viruses aren't even a thing. And it's all a construct. Anyway, he's really banging on the politics thing. And it's like, it just is kind of demonstrating that I don't want to define someone as disempowered, but they just don't recognize the power that they have within to create the world that they desire, because they're still outsourcing and delegating that responsibility to external forces. Yes. Not even like external forces. It's not a positive thing either for people in our community to be like, well, Ashleigh and Taelor are going to do it, so I'll just come and hang out. Or John's got the movement and the freedom cell, so I hope they can lead on this or that. It's like, no. You don't outsource that authority. You step into that authority, but definitely don't outsource that authority to some asshole politician, oligarch, billionaire, or some RFK guy that was like such a predator and like goes to Epstein's planes and shit. And like, these guys are not good human beings that really have nothing. They're not even like the people that are supporting them, but it's just this abrogation of responsibility. And it's, I think it's like, maybe just people don't believe in their ability to really bring about change. But the more of us that start stepping into that, we'll start to see really big momentum. And you can already see it when you come visit y'all's place or you see a permaculture project 5 years in. But a lot of folks are just focused so much energy on the computer and social media and in that reactionary paradigm, they never take the time to come and visit and experience what life really could be like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, speaking to, what you first brought up about people saying, oh, well, they're,
this is
an
Tanya.
Authority.
Sorry, Starbeam is TZ.
Oh, Tanya.
Hey, TZ.
Hi,
we love Tanya.
We love you, Zara.
I call her TZ.
Yeah, Tanya or Zara, she lives on our property, and she used to live on John's property.
I understand.
So
she just took on a role with you guys too.
Yeah, she did.
Cool.
She did. She's our lead temple keeper.
All right.
She's very lovely.
We love Zara. All
yeah,
right.
we do. But
Sorry,
yeah,
go
just
ahead.
to speak to what you're talking about, I feel like we have this overculture where we all, it's like the government and whoever, came in and kind of basically brainwashed everyone to believing that they are basically in bondage to the powers that be. And I feel like this is the very beginning of our culture realizing that, first of all, and then going, oh, wait, I can create my own thing and I don't even have to be a part of that. And I feel like even so many of my friends that are waking up, there's this weird situation like of getting a job, right? This is one example that I see that's very strong with that, is it's like you have this expectation that someone else is going to create the infrastructure and the systems for you to make money, and that you need to just jump into that system to participate, and that you don't have the power to create your own idea and your own systems that you can, make your living off of. And it's like this assumption that you have to get a job to be successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like we're all moving into this. No, like you can do that on your own. You don't need these other people to do that. And then speaking to another thing you brought up that made me think of is like this competition thing. And that's another permaculture principle, is cooperation over competition.
Sure.
And that's like kind of the old model, is like, oh, they're doing the same thing that I'm doing over there. Fuck them or whatever. It's like, no. Like for example, in my work with permaculture, Mike Wolford, I saw the symbiosis flyers and the thing. Mike Wolford is a dear friend of mine. I mean, my daughter spent the night at his house last week. Like we were previously doing the same thing, permaculture design and install, but we work together. We hand each other clients, like we're stoked. And so the same goes for Cosmos Ranch Foundation. If there's other people that come there and they get inspired and they want to do the same thing, but their flavor of it, we're like, yes, we're building the new earth and we need those new systems, and that's what makes it really hard, is that, but we're powering through this part, but it's like these systems have already been created for us. So whether it's, the government systems or these land rights systems, or where our water comes from, where our food comes from, where our energy comes from, we already have that infrastructure. It's already built. And so it's our responsibility to create new systems of how we receive that energy or that food or that water, and the same goes for the work we do in the world. So it is quite challenging to come and rebuild, and that's why I keep saying that we're rebuilding a new earth, a new way of living that's more in integrity with the land itself, with our own bodies. And it's kind of like every little aspect of this just allows us to come to this higher plane of existence. I'm really passionate about food. And so even just being able to source our food locally and eat that food that is grown with care and love and attention and not by machines and chemicals, like just that alone is huge. It's a big step. And so, and then even beyond that is growing your own food and integrating all of that. And so it's like every little part of this process just gives us more freedom to be who we are, to express ourselves, to know what we love and where we want to put our attention. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let's talk about spirituality and dogma. So I was very secular my entire life, and my mom tried to raise me Catholic, but I rejected it and just something felt off. Yep. Although most recently when I went to Catholic church, I was kind of in awe and inspired by it, because my mom was dealing with cancer, still is, but it's not as much of a threat now, but she's still dealing with health issues, although she's so vibrant and healthy. Anyway, to see her so rooted in Christ and faith through it all, when I would have been losing my shit, and here she is everything's going to happen according to God's plan. I was like, wow, there's something there. It was this long journey back, or maybe to Christ for the first time. But before that, it was more like self-development, like Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, and it was very secular. And it's all spiritual at the foundation, but we're talking about goals and habits and all that stuff. And then before that, I was into Buddhism, right? And that was really the first spiritual path that I had. But lately, I've been experiencing intense, rapid growth, and I owe it to Jesus Christ. And however that energy shows up for people, I just really want to encourage folks to go, this guy Jonathan England says, to take the 18-inch journey from your head to your heart. Because as soon as I stopped being like, well, but what about before Jesus, or even before the Old Testament? There was all these other things, and the Buddha was there, and Hinduism, and like, what about people that don't believe in God and heaven and all this stuff? But whenever I stop trying to analyze and understand everything and just be like, maybe I'll just open my heart to Christ, had massive, massive, massive growth in my personal life, like really pretty intense. And there's something there that I cannot deny. So that being said, there's a lot of people in our community that are like very dogmatic Christians. And when we're talking about yoga or breath work or crystals or chakras, there's some people that are like, that's Satan just trying to capture anything. So I just wanted to ask, like, what are y'all's views on spiritual modalities and like New Age versus Christian? And is there a space at Cosmos Ranch for anybody that's simply looking to connect deeper with God, whatever that may mean to them?
Well, I will talk about my past because I grew up in the Christian church and I still very much love Jesus Christ. And I believe him to be a teacher of the heart space. Just like you said, you get out of your mind, you go down into your heart. I have had the privilege and opportunity to study with multiple major wisdom traditions: Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sufism, Kabbalah. I've had an opportunity to really like sit in person with rabbis and international leaders of these dogmatic organizations and like sit in ceremony with them and learn different traditions and techniques from all over the world. And so part of what I do is I blend these traditions in ways that still fully honors like each one as their own individual thing, but then also like what Taelor was mentioning of us building this new earth is we're constantly evolving. And so what we thought Christianity might be when we were a child might look completely different than what it is now. And you have an opportunity to come worship that all being, God, spirit, essence, in whatever form you want to, just because of multiple different traditions coming together here in this space. So there's all kinds of ways to be with God and honor who he is as a being.
I love it.
Yeah. And I was also raised Christian as well. And, you know, the way I see it is that, you know, Jesus Christ was sent here to raise the frequency and the vibration of the planet. And he came at a really dark time. And he was not well received, which is why he was killed, right? And, you know, that was really dangerous for him. And it's like, but he still came with that really, really divine purpose to do that. And I feel like because of the timing that he came, a lot of the messages that he brought have been twisted around to create that dogma. And so sometimes, and in particular, the specific piece that's really alienating for a lot of Christians that do have a very strong faith and that are very connected spiritually, but that have this like opposition to some of these, what people would think of as new age things, which aren't, they're very old. You know, it's kind of ironic. Christianity. Exactly. But they have this aversion to it because of that dogma that wasn't even created by Christ. You know, that dogma of opposing, you know, other spiritualities and other, you know, spiritual leaders, that doesn't come from Jesus. You know, he wasn't like, hate Hinduism. You know what I mean? They're really all teaching the same thing. And so they're all, you know, whatever modality you subscribe to, which we don't, you know, we don't have a very specific religion that we are declaring. You know, it's very inclusive. All are welcome to practice and worship in whatever way that they want. You know, we're providing ways to connect to that Christ consciousness, though, no matter what, you know, that divine spiritual presence, the I am, right? And there's a whole lot of different ways to do that. And so different people are going to be connected to and drawn to different ways of connecting to that divine. And we are providing lots of different modalities for that to happen. And so it's just like going back to following your divine spark. So in the realm of spirituality, it's the same way of you having your own discernment of saying, I am attracted to this. Am I attracted to this just because of my own heart? Or is it my head denying it because somebody told me not to like crystals? Right? And so, and what I believe as well on that note, in terms of the powers that be controlling our actions, is that Jesus himself would be in in strong support of all of these different things because he knows that they connect us to the divine. But the powers that be, they don't really want us to connect to the divine. They don't want us to know the true methods of that connection. And they specifically alienated those that follow the true Jesus Christ. They alienated them from all of these different ways of worshiping so that they wouldn't be able to connect to it. And so it's very ironic because it's like, all of these folks, they're wanting to connect and they're getting alienated from what they're really seeking. Is kind of how I see that dogma playing out. And so just having an open heart and open mind and realizing, staying true to Jesus's true teachings, which are, love and acceptance and compassion and devotion and discipline and integrity, forgiveness, acceptance, all of these different things, connection to yourself, connection to those around you. And so all of the things that we're doing and many other things, really support all of that. So
cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. There's, it's kind of ironic because Jesus said the meek will inherit the earth. Meek being, there's all sorts of different ways to interpret that. And the language has been all tweaked out from the Greek and the Hebrew and all sorts of different iterations in the Bible. But, it's like the humble. And a lot of folks that are super dogmatic, they lost that humbleness because they think they have it all figured out. But to contemplate the divine there's so much mystery in it. And that's part of the beauty of it. And I would argue that's part of letting go. And like, we don't have to figure it all out in our head. In fact, there's so many deeper meanings too, like Adam and Eve eating the apple from the tree of knowledge to understand the nature of good and evil was like man going away from the heart and in a state of total abundance when everything was just blissful and harmonious because man wanted to think, I got to figure things out. I got to get intellectual. And that thinking it was a departure from the heart-centeredness that everything we have, everything we need, we have right now. We're all whole, complete. We're all completely loved, but humanity forgot that. And so I appreciate y'all we're helping people to remember that we're already whole and loved completely. And I strongly believe Jesus Christ and his teachings, his genuine teachings, not the corporatized control paradigm that a lot of modern churches teach. I think that's one of the fastest paths to the remembering that we're already all love and light and wonder and beauty. There's other paths as well. But I think that's been my path lately, but it's all good for whatever, that's what I think the essence of what we're all seeking is just like, we forgot, our parents forgot too. And there was some trauma and there was people seeking external people are seeking to fill a void of that love that's already there, but we forgot. So we seek external sources for that love, but the love is already there. And no matter what helps you to remember that, that's really what it's all about. And it sounds like you guys have created a portal, so to speak, which is all about helping folks remember that very thing.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep.
You definitely remember when you're in the middle of a really solid ecstatic dance session, you know, and you're like looking around, everybody's on the same frequency, and it's like moving to that same rhythm, and you're like, wow, this is love. I am love.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah. Our space is really a space where nature and love connect.
Let's go.
Cool.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to invite folks to check out cosmosranch.love. Cosmosranch.love is their website. If you're in Central Texas, you can really just lean into this incredible embodied community where you can awaken, connect, and grow. And if you're not in Central Texas, come visit Central Texas, man. There's a lot of cool stuff. We're very close to Cosmos Ranch as well. So consider coming and checking out what they got going on. We'll do some ecstatic dance together. The dance parties are always, bet those are going to be super cool and lots of cool folks joining. But I want to thank you guys for coming and joining. And thanks so much for doing this work. It's super important.
Thank you so much for having us. And yeah, I mean, even at our grand opening, we had a guy fly out from Florida to come visit just to see, you know. We do have accommodations, you know, we have a guest house and different spaces that you can rent out. So be in touch with us about that if you're wanting to come visit. And we welcome that for sure. So whether you're in Central Texas or anywhere in the world, really, you can come experience the space for sure.
There's Gloria. Hey, Gloria.
Hi, Gloria.
And I want to encourage folks too, if you're watching and you feel all isolated, first of all, you don't have to come to Central Texas to find community. You just got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and start striking up conversations, because there's cool people everywhere.
True.
Maybe not this cool though. No, but if you want to just tap in, you know, like Taylor's been here in Austin forever. Are you in Austin? Have you been here for a while?
I'm in Dallas.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're actually
both
from Dallas.
We're both from Dallas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But Taylor's been
So
here
I'm
longer
the
than
only
I-
one that's
Yeah.
been
Yeah,
here.
I've been here for 7-ish years.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a community, just like everyone's already done the work to build the community, and it's a very mature community. And there's a freedom community and a freedom cell community, and we're all jamming together. So for folks that are like, there's nothing going on in my area, it's a dead end, consider moving to Central Texas, and you can tap into existing community infrastructure that I promise can make a world of difference in your life and in your spiritual path, and help you to remember.
And we do welcome transplants. I know some folks are like, oh, Austinites only, or everyone's, you know, we don't like the Californians
long as they're
or
not
whatever.
lame.
I don't care. I think it's wonderful as long as they're not lame.
As long as
Exactly.
they're not, well, even if they are lame, as long as they maybe we'll rub off on them.
Right, exactly. And
That's right. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much for
funny.
joining. CosmosRanch.love is the website. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Appreciate y'all for being out there listening.
Yeah.
All right. Gloria says, I need to learn the Trinity model from y'all. It's time. Excellent. Well, check out the webinar, Gloria, livefree.academy/Trinity. Livefree.academy/Trinity. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I dropped the link to the Freedom Cells event. We're going to be doing that right after, like right now. You can probably click on that and copy it. I don't know if it'll show up as an actual hyperlink. Do people still use that word, hyperlink?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
good.
That's the word, right?
Do people still say World Wide Web?
Sometimes. No, probably not. But
So go to that link on the World Wide Web and join us with Windows 95, and we'll be getting done. But yeah, we're going to be joining Derek Bros here shortly. There's tons of people signed up. It's going to be a great opportunity to connect with the Freedom Cell Network. A lot of cool folks, a lot of cool spiritual stuff going on in that community as well. But check that out. And I want to thank you for joining us today on the Live Free Now show, where every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central, we're bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. Until next time, stay free out there, guys. Peace.
adios.
Bye.
Let's say bye to our guests one more time. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.